On this episode, we want to give a shout out to Shelby Bottoms Nature Center and Park. We love this park. When we were deciding to do dad walks, we knew this was the park we wanted to go to. They've got lakes, they've got playgrounds, they've got baseball fields, they've got it all. You've got to check out Shelby Bottoms Nature Center and Park. Welcome to another episode of the Nashville Dads. This week, we have on Jon McLaughlin and Dave Barnes from Dadville. We talk about how they started their dad podcast and what they've learned from doing it. This was a really cool opportunity to talk to these guys, and we're really grateful for their time. We hope you enjoy.
Well, guys, thanks for coming on. We've listened, or at least I have, to your Dadville podcast as well.
I love that move.
The immediate throw under the bus.
I was like, as the real fan of Dadville, the podcast.
But no, so thank you guys for coming on.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
The intro I wanted to do for you guys is, for this episode, we have on Jon McLaughlin and Dave Barnes, featuring Dave Barnes and Jon McLaughlin. That way you guys both get your first place in the...
John would have really thrown a hissy. That is a big deal.
Genius.
That matters a lot.
Well done, you guys.
Thank you. We're trying, we may not be the most professional, but at least we're polite, you know?
Yeah. That covers a lot of sins.
It does. So, I guess easy question to ask is, tell us about Dadville. How did you guys actually start a dad podcast?
Dave, you want to take this one? Because I actually have no idea.
Yeah, I don't either. We usually just type this into AI, and whatever it says is sort of our story for chat GPT. So kind of right before COVID, I had been wanting to do some kind of podcast. I really love talking, and I really like people, which is a really wonderful Venn diagram for loving to talk to people. And so, you guys know this, but even 5 years ago, the podcast space was so much different than it is now.
Oh, yeah.
And so I got a meeting with WME, who was booking me at the time, and William Morris, who's a big talent agency, and they had just started like a podcast wing of their thing. So they had a girl that worked here in Nashville, was kind of running that stuff. And so I got a meeting with her and just sort of sat down and was like, she's like, all right, I've heard you want to do a podcast. What are you thinking? And it was comical, y'all, because I was like, all right, music. And she's like, no. And I was like, what do you mean no? She's like, even 5 years ago, she's like, there's too many of those. You'll just get lost in the chatter. And I was like, oh. She's like, and she said something I thought was really profound. She's like, what are things you can talk a lot about? Because that's what if it works, you're going to be doing a lot of this. And I was like, I love my family and my kids. And she's like, I tell you, there is just basically nothing in the dad space right now. So that could be really great. So one of John and my really dear mutual friends, a guy named Seth Philpott, was, I think, staying in our back house. And so, we were catching up, and he just said, how'd that meeting go with WME? And I said, it was great. I said, she was very encouraging about doing kind of more of a dad podcast thing. And he was like, dude, you should ask John about doing that. And I said, that is genius. And so when I saw
Dave
John
was
next,
like, John Acuff? And Seth was like, no. And he was like, John Johnson? No. John, and then that went on for a while.
Yeah. John Deere?
You were like,
is that a person?
You were the fourth John on the list.
Yeah.
I'll take that. Top five. I'll take that.
Top five
John
Johns.
Mayer, who's not a dad. And that was still before Jon McLaughlin. No. And so, I just knew. I was like, that is such a great call. So when John and I hung out next, I just kind of said, hey, what would you think about doing this podcast? And I had the name for it. And he said no. And then that began a long negotiation.
Couple of years, yeah.
We're still in litigation right now. People don't know
we technically,
that. But
we shouldn't even speak on it.
That's why you guys aren't technically in the same room right now. Right.
It's not. We are actually. He's just really? Right off camera. He's right here.
The lighting's very different on this side of the room.
Yeah, it's really different. No, so that's kind of how it started. And then from there, COVID was so funny because it was like didn't we do a few isn't that how it worked, John? Like we had done, I don't know, 3 or 4, and then COVID hit, right?
Yeah, I don't know how many we had done, but we had recorded maybe like a dozen interviews before we had even released them, and then COVID hit, and then a friend of ours, Annie F. Downs, started a podcast network, which we're on. And if she were here, she would say, part of the reason why I started this network was she knew that we were working on this podcast for quite a while and hadn't released it. And she was like, I'm going to start a podcast network just so you guys will put this podcast out.
That's cool.
Yeah. Yeah. Which makes us feel really cool.
Yeah. It really helps the ego.
It does.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's kind of pretty much, we live like around the corner from each other. My youngest kid and his firstborn were born like 5 days within each other. And Justin, we'd always like meet up and hang out. And Justin would be like, man, this would be a cool podcast. Just dads hanging out and talking. And then like looked into it and we're like, there aren't a lot of dad podcasts out there.
Well, having my first kid, I was scared just beyond belief and was just like a deer in the headlights. So every time that I would go and hang out with him, I would constantly be asking him questions. I was like, I have no idea what I'm going to be getting myself into.
And I would say, me too.
Yeah.
I still don't know.
Yeah.
But all the stuff that he was talking about, and I mean, whether or not it works or not, just having those resources was so huge. And having my first kid, it's like, man, this would be great to have a resource out on a podcast for other dads that are experiencing the exact same thing that I am. And so we were just like, let's do it. Nashville Dads was actually open for Instagram, Facebook, and for the domain. And
so thanks for not claiming it whenever you made your dad podcast.
Boy, you expect a letter from us, by the way.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Ooh,
don't
the
speak
cease
too
and
soon.
desist is coming.
Uh-oh. But no. And then, I mean, we started this podcast basically from my kitchen table, and it was just me and Devin talking about our ups and downs. And then we had a few friends that wanted to come on. And then from there, we've just had guests on every single episode, and basically from referrals, people just asking, hey, I heard your podcast, you want to come on? Or like when we have people on, they're like, hey, I think this would be a next great guest to have on.
Yeah.
And it's been great just being able to hear other dads' perspectives and everything like that. So it's been a great experience.
Yeah, it is. It's good. The community part of it, I think that's something John and I really enjoy about it, is just the communal feeling of like, I mean, in fact, we had a guy send in this really thoughtful, encouraging, it was just really sweet. It was like, this email that basically came through our producer. It was like, guys, I just love what y'all are doing, and here's some things I love about it.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things that I laughed is he had 3 or 4 points that were really helpful. But the last point was, he's like, I'm really glad you guys got away from because we had a format where every podcast would end with the same 2 questions. And he was like, I'm sort of glad you guys got away from it, because while it's really sweet, they're always the same answers. It's like, you just realize like every dad is like, I want my kids to be loved and know that they're loved. And then, the next answer would be something sort of around the same thing. And once he said that, John and I kind of laughed, because we were like, it's kind of, I mean, every now and then you'd get, there'd be some gem that some guy would say and you'd be like, oh, wow. But, most of the time it was kind of some iteration of the same theme or variation of the same thing, but it just proves that point that there is, you're just not like, it's funny, for all the dads we ever had on, nobody, I mean, this is 100+ dads said, I just want them financially secure. Yeah. Or like, I want them to be really well educated, or it was the same thing. And so I think, those are those, for as funny as it became, those are those things that you go, I'm so glad that somebody else feels this, this is the whole point of a podcast like this, is so that there's some sense of community.
You know what I will say though, like I totally understand the guy who wrote in saying like, I don't need to hear 150 other dads saying how much they love their kids. Like, yeah, I love my kids too. But we could
give me the dad that hates his kids.
Exactly.
I bet we could have had like the same 2 questions at the end if those questions were like, what's your least favorite part of the day? Or what do your kids listen to you? And every dad would be like, no, they don't listen to me at all. And then what's the hardest part of your day? Oh, bedtime. It's the worst. And here's a story about how hard bedtime is. I bet we would get no letters from dad saying, we don't need to hear anymore. Because it's like, I could listen to a podcast all day with other dads just talking about how hard it is.
Yeah.
Offering no solutions, just to know that I'm not alone.
Just like lamenting together, just grieving together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I'll normally tell people when they come on, like, if you're expecting to come on this podcast and be like a fathering expert, then you probably shouldn't come on the podcast, because we're just going to talk and be like, so what was the last month like for you? Was that cool? Was that not cool?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
How much did you cry?
Basically. How many times do you look up and be like, I was a really big jerk just then? And my kid's like, dude, I'm the jerk in this scenario. All right, cool.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
How many times did you apologize?
Yes. So that's funny. We still end most of our episodes with asking the same questions. So good to know at some point, if we ever make it to where someone says,
well, I don't think
these answers.
Well, hear me qualify what I said, because John and I still are asking questions, but now it's just different questions. I think his point was more like, because we kept asking the same questions over and over that sort of always had the same responses no matter who we asked, and I think we were like, oh, maybe there is something to changing those up.
So we usually end with 5 questions. We're not ending the interview right now, by the way. But my favorite, the 2 that I like to ask the most are like, who's your favorite TV dad? And what's your least favorite kids show or movie? Because those get the best reactions possible. Yeah.
Those are great questions I immediately have the answers for. So I'm glad those are queued up.
I do too. We just watched a movie the other day, and I actually I'm trying to remember what it was. But I don't know that I've ever had this happen before. I mean, I've had to sit through some kids shows that I'm like, man, this is terrible, But this movie, I could barely sit through it. I'm like, this is the worst. I think this might be the worst movie I've ever seen. And afterward, the girls are kind of getting ready for bed and all that kind of stuff. And Amy and I are in the kitchen, and I made the mistake of saying, I just couldn't wait to tell Amy how much I hated this movie.
Yep.
And Liv, our youngest, was like still within earshot. She's like going up the stairs, and she was like, what? You hated that movie? And I was like, no, I'm just kidding.
What?
I really can't remember what the movie was, but it was the worst. I was like, this is so terrible. I mean, the things that I want to watch with my kids are all 30 years old, at least. You know what I mean? I want to watch a classic movie. I want some nostalgia, but they always want to watch some new thing that is probably not just as bad or whatever, but I have no attachment to it,
I saw like a dad review of Wish, and it was like, music was fine, storyline was fine, everything was fine, but my kids loved it, and that's the worst part. Everything was fine, and I'm gonna watch this movie like 50 times, and it's just mediocre. And I'm like, I feel
really strongly about this. I feel like the quality of Disney movies from what we grew up on, has really taken a nosedive. Mm-hmm. And I am easy. I'm an easy sell. Like, I'm easily entertained. I'm not the guy who's sitting out, even being a professional musician, I'm not sitting there going like, the quality of these songs is terrible. I may if I start thinking about it.
Yeah.
But like, you'll have no easier buy-in than me. And I just feel like we get done with these shows, and some of my frustrations, because I love them so much, I do have some like excitement going in.
Yeah.
But like, I felt like, this is a hot take. I feel like Onward, there hasn't been a Disney show. I will say this. I do think the 2 Frozens are pretty great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
see, I gotta say, Inside Out though is
amazing.
One of the best movies I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Amazing. I mean more the musicals. Okay. Like the Little Mermaids, the Beauty and the Beast, like what we grew up on, where it was like these just gorgeous, amazing, hysterical music that you sing for decades after. That thing that they did so well for so long, I'm like, I can't name. Again, Frozen's one thing, but like, they haven't really put movies out to me in like forever. I feel like.
Do you mostly do you have boys or girls?
Boy, girl, boy.
Okay, cool. I feel like also like our girls, whenever we try to watch like Luca or anything like that, if it's all boys in the plot line, they do not care at all.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are your
Luca
girls like that, John?
is a triggering movie for us because I have two girls. My oldest is named Luca,
Oh, okay.
and she went through a phase. I think she's out of it now, but she went through a phase where she hated the fact that she had a predominantly boy name.
Oh no.
Interesting.
And so we, for a long time, we were like, it's cool to have. It's not even a. I didn't know any Luca my whole life growing up. I knew Lucases and Lukes and stuff like that, but I didn't know a Luca, boy or girl. So we were like, it's cool when girls have boys' names or whatever. It's not even, what is a boy's name? And then along comes this movie where it's like, it should have just said Luca and subtitle is a boy's name.
Yeah.
And she's like, see?
Yeah.
And
You're
that
like,
was
yeah,
a
but it's
struggle
just
for us.
Disney. What do they know?
What do they know?
what's something that's been fun for you guys doing a dad podcast? Is it mostly the community? Has that been like the most fun takeaway? I feel like for us, like hearing dads talk about how excited they are to be fathers is like one of the coolest things that I'm really glad to have like a medium to be a part of.
Yeah, I mean, I think we've done like, I think we're 150 some episodes in. So we've been doing it for a little while. And I mean, the top couple things that I love about the podcast, and I feel like there are many. I mean, one of them is just, it gives, like you guys, Dave and I, we're friends already. We live right across the street from each other. It's fun to do this with your friend, and we get to hang. And even when we are, we just have to get together to record a couple little things for the podcast. It's not even an interview. It's still just so much fun,
Yeah.
And it gives us sort of a, in a really good way, it like forces us to be vulnerable, forces us to talk about, it forces me to, as a dad, live kind of an examined life. Because every week, a couple times, some weeks, I'm confronted with someone else's experience, and I can't help but look at my own experience as a dad, which I think is such a helpful thing. And like I said before, it's just so comforting to hear other parents talk about their experiences because there's so much overlap. And whenever it's the rough times, whenever, like you said, Devin, earlier, like when you've been a real, like you get too mad and you yell at your kids or whatever, and you're going to bed that night and you're like, I totally miffed that whole thing up. In those moments, it feels like every time for me, it feels like I'm, everyone else is a great parent and I'm the worst, So it's just so helpful to constantly every week talk to somebody who's going through the same thing.
Yeah.
And we've also had, every now and then we have like a learned expert on where we can actually just ask them questions and get some tangible, like, someone who's like actually developmentally, here's what your kids are going through right now, like in brain development. And that has been really helpful for me because it's like, oh yeah, when they're 7 years old or whatever it is, you can't expect them to, they are in black and white world. You can't explain anything that has any kind of like nuance to it or abstract quality to it. They're not going to get it. Developmentally, they can't get it. So stuff like that has been really, really helpful.
Yeah, I think, and when John said he means other learned experts, other than John and I.
Right. Sometimes we like to have a third in the room
to really add some density to what is already a well-populated genre of host. Yeah, I think for me, one of the things that's like my favorite about it is that, it's just sort of like flying in the face of that misnomer that like dads are disconnected or don't care or aren't, like mom is alpha caregiver and she is and I mean, look, that's not the truth. But you know, just to facilitate more conversation and give voice to dads who really, I think, don't feel that way, who are like, and that's what's so fun for me is like, you just get all these dads in here and they have so many feelings and emotions and joys and pains and fear and excitement, whatever those things are. And so for me, I just love that it's a venue to have these conversations that really fly in the face of sort of the traditional, you know, like mom is the one that's, you know, doing her thing. And then dad's just kind of happy to be there and he's off doing whatever dad's doing and sort of coming in every now and then leaving again, you know? And so, cause I mean, you know, every dad we've ever had has profound things to say no matter what they are about that whole thing, you know? And so I just think that's a very valuable thing to add to the noise of the world we live in, is to kind of fly in the face of that idea that, like, you know, dads don't really, parenting is not a dad's thing. That's a mom's thing, you know?
Yeah. And I think from Devin's perspective, being a stay-at-home dad, he's kind of a unicorn, so you say, of having that type of perspective and being almost that alpha caregiver as so I think having that perspective from him is great for other dads to know that there is another avenue and options out there.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think, John, you've kind of just mentioned this. One of the most fun things about this podcast is just getting more guy friends. Because I feel like you reach like your 30s or you get closer to like your 40s and you're like, so I kind of like, do I just hang out with my kids' parents' friend? Like, how do I make new guy friends? And like, it's kind of why I do season tickets for Nashville Soccer Club, is because it's a guaranteed way for me to hang out with friends, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's smart.
So,
that's smart. Yeah.
So, yeah, no, it's really cool. I also very much believe like every man I've ever met has the ability to care. They just need to be like shown the permission that like, hey, you care is actually really beneficial here. And once they know that door's open, they go full in, and like it's really beautiful to watch.
Yeah. Well, it's not assumed that men can lead off with that. Correct. I think with women, there's a little bit more permission, like you said.
That is one of the things that's really fun about that I do appreciate about Nashville and John and I's world occupationally is like, I find that, you know, our kids go to Covenant School, and I find that there's a lot of dads who are kind of around because they're either entrepreneurs or they're musicians or they're creative, or what, like there's not that sort of traditional 9-to-5 thing. And so I've really, cause like, that's always tricky for me too, you know, where I like show up and you're going, oh God, I'm like this lone dad. Okay. Yeah, which is fine. It's totally fine. I've done that a million times. And I'm really thankful that our school community, I know all the moms really well. And so I love them and they're dear friends of mine. And I have just as much fun with them, honestly, as I do the dads. But like, you know, it is, I'm really thankful that like, if we go for chapel in the morning, there'll be 20 dads, you know, or if I go to like they have some party during the day for something at the school, there's usually at least one or two other dads. And I'm really thankful that Nashville is a city that has those kind of occupations where dads can dip in for an hour, and it's not, you know, and not all of them can, but at least there's a few of us that like, oh no, I can make that work.
All the songwriters who have writer's block and they don't want to keep trying.
They're like, how can I avoid sitting down with my guitar today?
It's a great procrastination tool.
It is.
You start getting real involved at school.
Dave serving lunch again, I see. Yeah.
Still
Can't
here.
crack that lyric?
Yeah.
Sure can.
Oh, crack. I haven't thought about the word crack. Actually, give me a minute.
That's a co-write.
Oh, do you guys have a lot of like audio files on your phone where you just sit down like, okay, here's the idea.
Oh my gosh.
You don't want to know.
I don't.
You don't.
Gigabytes and gigabytes.
Yes.
Of just half ideas that never came to anything.
The best is the ones that I do, which I know John has done this too, where I'm running.
Yeah.
Like I'm on a run and I'm like, go.
The funny thing about that is like the setup, because you have to explain to your future self, who's not going to remember this moment. You're like, and there's always so much other noise happening because I run so fast.
Yeah.
You're always like, okay, 6'8", 1, 2, 3, 4. And here's the one. Here's the one.
Here's
it
the
starts in the
one.
minor
It's
sixth.
always here's the one. Here's the one. Here's the one. Or I'm like, just like Jonathan, I'll do a drum group. I'm like, so the drum group. It's like, here's what it's 1, 2, here's 3. and you know, cut to like Jonathan, your future stuff, and you're literally sitting there going, what?
Yeah,
Like,
I mean, 1 out of every 20 times it's decipherable 2 days later. And I'm like, oh, yeah, I remember this. But in that moment on that run, man, is it
you
a hit.
are like, this is the next Piano Man.
Yep.
I am writing Sweet Home Alabama 2.
Yes. I had friends at Belmont who would mix songs while stoned, then wake up the next morning.
Oh my gosh.
And be like, I have no idea what did I do last night?
Yeah. That's me singing the guitar part. Just singing it.
Come back later and you're like, I think was that a trumpet? Was I trying to do a trumpet or was it a guitar part?
Was I doing Shaggy from Shaggy Boombastic as the special guest for the
You might have been. You might have been.
Might have been.
Well, to be respectful of your time, I'm going to start asking the 5 questions that we normally do in the episode.
Here we go.
Oh my gosh.
When we finally get the email that says, guys, you need to stop. That's when we've arrived. Now we know
that
what
is it.
Really is.
Yeah, we're gonna put the nail in the coffin on this.
Little plug. I was telling a couple of my friends from our church that we were having you guys on, and they were like, "Oh, well, Micah Cantros knows them very well."
Oh, Micah.
I've never heard that name before in my life.
I have no association with him, and I will never be known to have an association with him.
Am I even saying that right? Micah Candros?
Yeah. Is it Micah Candros?
So he went to our church, Flat Rock, for a while.
Oh yeah.
And then
with Hager.
So he actually worked with my wife. My wife works for Thomas Nelson and HarperCollins Christian Publishing.
Oh
so
my gosh, that's so funny.
He uses him all the time for photography, and he actually took art pictures as well for our podcast.
Oh, that's amazing!
Yeah. But
cool.
But yeah, he said something about 30 silver dollar coins. You guys,
silver coins. John doesn't even know about 30 silver coins, do you, John? So Micah is my best friend in the world, like literally my closest friend. And
it hurts a
when
little.
we were in John, I can't believe you don't know this. When we were in college, when I started, I'll condense this very quickly. When I started writing songs, I didn't sing. I was like, so Micah can sing really well. He's got a really cool voice. And so I would take him songs and he would sing them. And so then we started, this is like sophomore year of college, we started writing songs together. And the name of our band, we would go play shows was called 30 Silver Coins. And it was, we had no fans, and it was, but we did do it. The band that I was in high school, after I left and went to MTSU, they did a record and had us come open the show. And there was like 600-700 people there. And so we had a really huge, not only inaugural show, but sending off show, which was the same show. Yeah. And that really, it was like the one
that's
solitary firework in the sky, and it was beautiful and it burned brightly, but it burned quickly.
That's awesome.
It sounds like Micah's trying to fan that flame back up again.
Yeah, man.
He's always there.
Man, he is a great guy.
Yeah.
And so much energy and just crazy
joy. Yes.
Yeah.
All of those things.
But all right. We will end with some 5 questions. And the first one is, did you guys have any backup names for your kids?
Oh
yeah.
John,
next
Dave,
question.
one of you. Yeah.
Oh my God! Yeah, that's all.
You're supposed to answer it. That's
Oh, I'm sorry. I just thought that was a great question. I was like, that's a great first question.
Wow.
So we didn't find out the genders until real time with any of ours, and so ours was a complete and utter. It was like a splatter paint. It was just crazy, real time, and we would have a couple of queued up. All right, if it's a boy, we like this one. The girl, we like this one. But oddly enough, this is a true story. Annie was right about all of them, which literally still to me is like talking about maternal superpowers.
Yeah.
So we had like one for each time. It was kind of like, but because we kind of knew if it's this, then we'll do that. If it's not, so we didn't really have backups. so we got to Sam where we were kind of like, well, but it made it fun not knowing because, it was just kind of like, you didn't have that thing where for us, at least it was like, okay, it's a girl. Now what 100 names we want to have? Because not knowing it was boy or girl, it's kind of like, okay, if it's a boy, let's just kind of have maybe this one or that one, girl, that one or that one, sort of made us have to consolidate.
Yeah, we had, so with Luca, our oldest, we knew there was a girl and we had narrowed all the names down. I mean, my wife had made lots of lists and she would read pretty much every name off to me. And I was so unhelpful because every time she would read a name, I'd be like, oh, I love that.
Yeah.
Love that.
Yeah.
She'd be like, what about this one? Oh my gosh, love that too.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So we go with that one. She's like, well, no. And then Luca was born, and the person who comes by with like the form, and you're supposed to like tell them what the baby's name is. She would come by like twice a day. We were like, I felt like we were at the hospital like 2 or 3 days afterward, and she just kept coming by, and we just couldn't decide between Luca or Daisy. And now I can't even imagine. Daisy is just not. I can't even imagine Luca being.
Is that after Daisy Fuentes? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay.
I really pushed hard for that. Yeah. And then with Liv, I remember the other name was Indy, which I still love that name.
Wait,
so I call her Indy exclusively. Indy.
Oh, that's cool.
Nice.
All right.
That's really
Indy
cool.
for
Give it a
Notre
little
Dame.
shout out. Oh my God.
I mean, I think you're the first fellow Hoosier who we've had on the podcast, so good to know,
It's also going to be Indy for No Doubt.
That's right. What did I say? Notre Dame? That's what I meant.
Notre Dame. Yeah, Notre Dame.
Well, if Amy were on the podcast right now, she would say it's not because of this is not like Indianapolis, Indy. This is just INDIE. We like the name Indy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, cool. That would have been a lot of explaining that. That would have been a lot of explaining that for your life.
I know.
Okay, next question. Who is your favorite TV dad?
I know. Okay. You want me to go, John?
Yeah, go ahead.
Bingo from Bluey.
You mean Bandit?
Bandit.
Bingo is what I call him. We're in a soccer term. Bandit.
Man, that's a really good answer. That's a really good answer. I love that.
I love that dude.
You're on a casual friendship with Bandit. You call him Bingo. You have nicknames.
Bingo. Yeah, it's
confusing, but that is his nickname. Yeah,
it is.
I will say though that as much as I love that show, it's setting an unreal expectation of the dad.
Yeah, without question.
Yeah,
because the guy, he's just like always down to play make believe indefinitely with his kids.
Yeah.
And the messes that they make. I mean,
yeah.
But that accent gets me. I'm gonna go with Phil Dunphy from Modern Family.
That's a good one. That's a
great one.
That's a good one.
Awesome. All right. Next one. Least favorite kids show or movie. And come back to John if you can remember
the name of it.
Oh,
I cannot remember what it was. I feel like maybe it was a Christmas movie.
Was it on Disney or?
No, it was not on Disney. Disney hits home runs every time. Even though Dave doesn't agree. No, I can't remember what it was, honestly. It wasn't like a super well-known movie.
Okay,
gotcha.
It was one of those like,
You'll think of it in 5 minutes after we end the phone call.
Was it Jaws 3?
Exactly. It was 3D. Jaws 3.5. It was a super low budget thing.
Still biting. That was a good one.
Yes. Still biting after all these years.
Yeah. Still biting. Mine is Caillou.
Yes. It's the most consistent answer. Everyone despises Caillou.
I have yet to watch it because of that.
Don't you dare dip your toe in that.
Don't mess with it.
Cesspool.
Don't mess with it.
No one has ever been pro Caillou. Yeah. Everyone is just like, why does it exist?
It is the worst show ever, is what we.
Oh my gosh.
That's awesome. Second to last question. Do you have a favorite kid's toy? Like when your kid plays with it, you actually like to play with it also?
Legos.
Yeah. Legos are fun.
Mine are nunchucks.
I could sit and
No,
do Legos with my oldest. Luca loves Legos, and we could just sit
I'm
there.
down. I'm with you. That was mine too. Legos are great. They're really fun. Although it's hard. The thing that I think is really hard about Legos is I just want to take over.
Oh yeah.
It's hard to not just be like, and then which we all have done this, and this would be a great like scene in Modern Family or something. But like, cut to 2 hours later, and it's just you. They've left
No one
the
else
house.
is home. Yeah.
Yeah, and you're like halfway through the Millennium Falcon.
Yep.
And you're so frustrated because you can't find like the seat for the cockpit. It's just like that happened numerous times with me. Where it'd be like, it would start, and I knew I'm like, I know how this is going to go, and I'm biting every time.
Yep.
All right, Dad, I'm gonna go upstairs. I don't even hear him.
That's
I'm
fine.
like,
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah.
Just leave. It'll be easier this way.
Get out of here.
Yeah, my 2-year-old. So when we play with Legos, her favorite thing to do is wait till Daddy builds something elaborate, and then just come over to it and like Godzilla just destroy it, and then she'll just look at me and smile.
Legos. All right, just a quick hot take. Legos. It is such a genius business plan because you have all of these bricks that are basically all the same that you keep selling over and over. And the end of the thing doesn't, it's such a dead end. It's like you make the thing, you can't really play with them.
Nope.
Because they're going to break.
Yep.
And so what inevitably happens, and yet you keep buying them over and over, is that
they are not
they
cheap.
turn back into the same things you bought.
Yeah.
And then you go get another box full of those exact same things and start the process over again.
Yeah.
It's like Johnny Lego or Lejo, I imagine his Turkish name when he immigrated, 100 years ago. Like, that guy is laughing his way to the bouillon. I mean, it's just like, what a hack that thing is.
Yeah.
Because they don't stay together. You can't. It is physically impossible to have children and build something and it not a day or two later, even if no one is actively trying to do it.
Yeah.
They could be like, I want the Mandalorian thing to sit here. It's going to get hit.
Yep.
Pieces of it are going to fall off. And once a little bit of it is screwed, it's wholly screwed.
Oh yeah.
So you just so then mom just break it down, put it in the box. And then you have 5 tubs of Legos that never, like, they don't ever, there's no end of it. That's the thing. It's like, even when it's ended, it's not really ended.
Yeah.
It's just whatever. I love them, but it's a hack.
Hot Lego take.
I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Trigger point.
Yeah.
It is.
Right.
One of the best gifts of all time, by the way. No memes. Is the shark that's coming out of the ocean. Have y'all seen that? And it's like somebody caught it was like I read this whole article. It was like one of the first memes that went like viral. But it shows someone in South Africa caught one of those breaching great whites, and it's just coming out, so the mouth is just open.
Yeah.
And it says just stepped on a Lego.
Yeah.
And it just looks like this shark is like yelling in pain.
That one's good.
Yeah.
It says like rare photo of shark stepping, whatever. But I was like, man,
Perfect
that's
meme.
not the truth. The times I've lost my religion in the dark at, whatever time walking through the hall.
Yes.
All right. Last question. What moment of your kid's life are you most excited to be a part of?
Wow.
It's a deep one.
Yep.
What moment of my kid's life?
Yeah. Some people say like walking your daughters down the aisle, stuff like that. When your kid graduates from college, maybe.
I mean, this sounds cheesy.
Here we go. Can I say it
This
with
is
you?
where the cheese comes.
Yep. We're
I'm
all
gonna say it
about
with you, John.
cheese.
When they
Every second.
listen to Dadville.
Every
for the
moment
first
of the day. With every moment.
What?
Sorry.
Oh. No, I was going to say, I definitely don't go to, I know that we're supposed to say when we walk them down the aisle. That's not where my mind goes, though. I'm not like, at this point, I'm like, that, I don't want that right now. So my answer, I think, is just whatever the next like big thing for them is. Like, they both have basketball games on Saturday tomorrow. And I'm like, if they score, I'm like, that's what I'm most excited for. Like that whole it makes everything worth it, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, like John said, I think it's trite. I will say, like, I think if I break it out in chunks, I think each season has these things that have been and are really fun. And maybe the best way I can answer it is I'll tell you what I'm enjoying right now is, you know, it's for my daughter, it's that she is so funny and so much fun. And so we have a real connection around humor, and that's really blossoming in her. And oh God, I wish I had not said that. And so we have this whole new relationship where she loves joking and making me laugh. And so that's a huge new bond for us, which has been really fun. Not new bond, but it's just, it's like changing. With the boys, it's the share of, we love this soccer team called Arsenal, and they having that thing that we always watch the games together. And they're not as invested as I am, but my 12-year-old is very invested. And so that's become this really fun common language of like, he'll ask me like, hey, have we got anybody in the transfer window? Or, hey, why did, whatever. And just sitting and watching them, we're just watching it together and we're both like, oh yeah, high five, we won or whatever. That's a really sweet thing. We went to a game in London last Christmas. And I mean, just what a incredible moment, so with the boys, that's been a really fun thing lately.
So you were pretty sad last year whenever they were first for most of the season, then ended up finishing second to me.
I think that's all the time that I have, actually. It's cutting out.
Okay. There are a lot of Arsenal fans in Nashville, so it is pretty cool.
Yeah. So that's really fun. It's fun. Cool. That's the first brush I've had with like, oh man, I'm starting to see how that plays out, because we've dealt with all the kid stuff for so long. Now it's like, oh, they're like these little adults that can like things I like. Yeah, they're like adult things, which is really crazy and so fun.
Well, to wrap up, just so you know, normally when we have a guest on, we normally meet in person, and normally I make baked goods for them. So like, if you guys need to have us on Dadville, I will come with baked goods for you guys.
Oh my goodness!
It's
what kind of baked goods are we talking here? We talking cookies? We talking
cookies,
muffin?
He makes everything.
Cinnamon rolls. I can't do croissants. That's one of the few things I can't do. If you guys check out our Instagram, I post all of them. Like I do Irish soda breads. I'll do cinnamon rolls. I'll do. I made banana bread for a friend. Like whatever you want, basically. You both will get one.
John is about to get in his car and drive to you right now.
We live just north of the zoo, so it actually wouldn't be that far of a drive. So
if it wasn't for his baking, we probably would have never been friends.
That's how I make friends as an adult, is by baking.
I love that so much.
So here's your opportunity. You guys probably don't need to promote yourself because you have multiple platforms, but like if we want to follow you on Instagram, catch you on tour, like what's a good way to find out about you guys?
Yeah.
Dadville. Well, we're terrible at knowing like what the Dadville stuff is.
Okay.
But you can follow me at Jon McLaughlin. You can follow Dave at Dave Barnes. And then music, Dave Barnes Music. And then you can find a podcast that way.
Yeah. Awesome. Are you guys both about to go on tour too? Or do you guys have tours coming up?
We do. Sweet. Yeah. Dave
coming to
Dave has lots of shows. Dave's first show is like here in a couple weeks.
24th.
Like
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. We're doing kind of a little southeast thing.
Nice.
And then John and I have some potentially big news about a summer something that will be releasing soon into the wild.
It's a soft tease.
Yeah.
It's a soft tease.
And we might be looking for some baked goods to go along with it.
Hey!
So whatever you want. We can have a full discussion. I take it as a challenge to try to live up to your baked good standards. So
wow.
Okay. Yeah. It's high. Yeah.
I'm an Enneagram 4 who uses baked goods as my form of expression. So a lot of pride. A lot of pride. Yeah. So,
that is amazing.
I love that.
Anyway, guys, thank you so much for your time.
Yes.
This was really
thank y'all so much.
Thanks for having us, y'all.
Appreciate
Thanks,
you guys.
Appreciate it. Thanks again for listening. Make sure to follow us on Instagram at the Nashville Dads and to subscribe to us on Apple and Spotify podcast. We record at New Light Podcast Studio and episodes are produced by me, Devin.